All right, welcome back to It's Our Year Sports. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Smolinski, your host, moderator, and supermodel. I'm joined by Adi Ramakrishna, as well as Hamid Moshrefi, and we are here talking about it. Hamid, what did you take away from this game?
Seahawks, Redskins, most entertaining game by far. I mean, this one I was a little bit nervous about. I went 4-0 last week, so that's a good thing, right? So I went 4-0 in my picks last week. I'm gung-ho on the Seahawks going all the way to the Super Bowl, mainly because, you look at Russell Wilson. You're talking about going on the road, which I know even in this show we talked about Seahawks don't play well on the road, but I think things are changing there. They go on the road, you go down, you get gutted your first two drives, and you go down 14 on the road, and you respond with a great defensive performance and a very efficient offensive performance. Russell Wilson, he actually didn't have as good of a game as he usually has. I think he went like 92.9 quarterback rating. He's usually around 100. So it didn't take a great game from Russell Wilson to win this game statistically, and that shows me that they are a Super Bowl team. You don't need to have this lights-out performance, Aaron Rodgers-esque, to win a game. So to go down 14 to win that game, I'm really impressed. And on a side note, the RG3 Russell Wilson battle, that's 2 of the 4 starting black quarterbacks in the NFL, or in the playoffs. That includes Joe Webb now, so that has to be a record, and it's good to see that guys like RG3, I don't really want to talk about Joe Webb, but Colin Kaepernick and Russell, and I don't want to include Joe Webb, but those 3 guys, Russell Wilson, Colin Kaepernick, and RG3, they combined for around 100 or 100.9 quarterback rating through the season, and they're not just running quarterbacks, so they throw the ball, they're changing the position. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Adi, what did you take away from the game?
So I lost as far as picking the Redskins to beat Seattle, but I found it funny. Hamid texted me about 2 minutes after Seattle scored.
Oh yeah, he texted both of us that he was screwed, that it was over.
He immediately started doubting his pick. Yeah,
he was off the bandwagon. Yeah.
I don't know how much of this is Seattle.
Wait. I jumped back on the bandwagon, called the 4-0, and then Marshawn Lynch fumbles at the 1-yard line.
I really don't know how much of this is Seattle's defensive dominance and offensive efficiency, and how much of it is just mismanagement of player and personnel by the Redskins. Seattle didn't deserve this win, and in most situations they wouldn't have gotten this win. But then again, you're right. That is the mark of a champion, is to play awful and still come out with that win.
I think Marshawn Lynch, though, definitely played a pretty good game. But he pretty much turned them into Marshawn's lunch. I think that Russell Wilson has shown that he's officially, obviously he's officially outlasted Andrew Luck and RG3 this season. I think Russell Wilson's going to be a problem for the rest of the NFC.
You know what I think people have to watch out for with Seattle? I don't think they have a great rushing defense. They got torn up. They have the Falcons next game, don't they?
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see if they end up running Burner Turner on them. But either way, unless they play the Packers, if they play the 49ers, I feel like they're going to lose, just because the 49ers rushing attack will eat them up alive.
Yeah, but they killed him. They murdered him. They beat him in every aspect of the game. I think no one wants to give the Seahawks any credit.
You're right, I don't.
They're this year's New York Giants. They're this year's New York Giants without the history.
I think that game was just mismanaged completely. After they went up 14-0 and RG3 was clearly hobbled. I understand he was hurt coming into the game, but he wasn't that bad. He clearly re-aggravated that injury. Just based off how Kirk Cousins played, I would put him in the game. Plus, first off, the last collegiate game that he played was against Russell Wilson in the Big Ten championship game. So that's actually a foe that he's familiar with. But I think and I know every player today that they're talking to, every player's like, oh, you gotta stick your head out for the team, and you gotta stay in the game, and blah blah blah. And it's like, this is Washington. They just didn't play Strasburg in baseball, and he wasn't even hurt. They were just trying to protect him because he's the future of your franchise. You have to protect the future of your franchise, and Kirk Cousins played well enough to where when you've got a 14-point lead, I think you give him the ball. And if he starts to fall apart and the game gets tied or something like that, you put RG3 back in. It's not like, it's not like soccer. You can put him back in the game if you really have to. But it just seemed like they were just being stubborn, and RG3 was obviously not going to pull himself out of the game. The doctors wanted him out of the game apparently, but they couldn't get a hold of him. And even right down to the field crew. The field looked terrible. It looked like a baseball field. You got a quarterback that can barely stand, and you got him running through a baseball diamond because you couldn't take care of your field before a home game. I don't know. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why they kept putting him in some weird shed in between plays. Like, what was that weird shed? Like, usually when a player gets hurt, they take him to the locker room. You see him going off on the cart, with the towel over his head. Like, RG3, they just kept putting him in like some weird healing tank thing that they have in the back that I don't understand what it does, but I thought that was funny and
just where they store him between every game.
that's where he's going for the rest of the off season. He'll be in his shed waiting for next season.